This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. It's a plan focused on getting the homeless housed quickly. It's been nearly 8 months since the province's strategy to end chronic homelessness began. So far, nearly 60 people have been moved out of encampments, but some people in one Winnipeg neighbourhood say change isn't happening fast enough. CBC's Gavin Axelrod has more.
These are people's homes along the riverbank in North Point Douglas. Marcus Daniels Francis has been living in an encampment like this for a few months.
It's not the funnest, it's not the greatest, but you build a community with people that you don't even know because you all go through the same shit.
But the encampment has also been an issue for area residents like Howard Warren, calling it the 7th summer of chaos in the neighborhood.
It sounds like a new housing development going up. The hammering, the sawing, the cutting down of trees.
The Manitoba government says 59 people have been moved into housing from encampments since its strategy to end chronic homelessness came out earlier this year.
That's a big number for people. If you think about just one person and the amount of, support that a person needs, some of these folks have been unhoused for a very long time, living in encampments.
Warren is encouraged by that number and is sympathetic to the situation. He recently wrote a letter to Winnipeg's mayor and council asking for help and questioning why Main Street Project got an exclusive contract to handle homeless outreach in the city. Menarski councillor Ross Eady responded. He's promising money for St. Boniface street links to tackle encampments in his area.
We have an emergency. The community fund can be used for other various community groups trying to help out in your ward. Also, it can be used to fix parks and that kind of thing, but I'm going to empty the community's fund. It's about $45,000 to $50,000 left over.
Meanwhile, Daniels Francis is moving into an apartment Friday, not under the provincial strategy, but he knows some who have.
The government definitely has been helping people out, getting people off the encampments, but they aren't helping enough people yet.
The 26-year-old is determined to overcome his struggles with alcohol, has enrolled in welding school, and hopes others also get a chance at new beginnings. Gavin Axelrod, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The pilot of a small plane is dead after the single-engine aircraft crashed in a southern Manitoba field. It happened Saturday morning just west of Dugald. RCMP say the man was the only person on board. Mounties have not released further details about the victim, but the president of a flying group at Lindcrest Airport tells CBC the pilot was his friend Peter Toth. A witness who watched the plane go down says it took time to register what he was seeing.
I saw something coming down from the sky. As I looked over, there was what appeared to be an aircraft spiraling straight down towards the ground. I saw probably the last 50, 60 feet of its descent, at which point I pulled over and started calling 911 and stayed online with 911 as I started my trek probably 500 meters through the field to the accident scene.
Firefighters were later called to clear the wreckage. The Transportation Safety Board of Canada is investigating. A century-old Winnipeg bridge will stay closed for longer than originally expected. The Louise Bridge cannot reopen as planned after an inspection found more issues. CBC's Mike Arsenault has details.
The Louise Bridge was closed to traffic on May 23rd for its annual inspection and maintenance. That inspection found corrosion that needed repairs. The city expected to have those repairs complete by end of July. Now it says the bridge won't reopen until early September.
The closure is an inconvenience for Graham Fair. He lives down the street from the bridge and says the closure is adding some travel time to his commute.
Getting to work's been a lot different. I've just happened to take the buses like a little bit earlier, just because it takes a little bit longer to get to work and stuff like that.
This thing's beautiful.
Joseph Keith drives through the area every day. He says the closure is causing major traffic delays.
Around 3:30 to 5:30, it's impossible. You're bumper to bumper for takes you about 40 minutes to get off of Regent to Henderson Highway.
A report from 2024 recommended the city do some repairs to extend the life of the bridge by another 30 years instead of replacing it with a brand new one. Chair of the Public Works, Janice Luke, says those repairs will begin in 2028.
I know people are concerned that, maybe this is another Arlington Bridge in the works where it's going to be shut down completely. I'd say no. The good thing is we've got design and funding set aside to do the rehabilitation.
The city's gone back and forth over the years about whether they should repair or replace the bridge. Money was allocated in 2009 to expand the bridge to 4 lanes, but the design was never completed and consultations resumed. Luke says extending the lifespan of the bridge for 30 years will support the area's population for the time being.
Growth estimated for the eastern quadrant of the city will merit a renewal of the bridge and an incorporation of a transit corridor.
Fair would like to see the bridge fixed sooner than later.
I just kind of had hoped that it would have been done a lot sooner, and like I said, I didn't really see anybody working on it for quite a while.
Luke says replacing the bridge isn't feasible right now, with larger, more urgent projects taking priority, like the North End Sewer Treatment Plant. Mike Arsenault, CBC News, Winnipeg.
It was a tragic end to a search that started with an abandoned boat found on Lake Winnipeg. RCMP were called to open water near Willow Island in Gimli around 8:30 yesterday morning. The Coast Guard officials say no one was in the boat, but a phone and wallet had been left behind. The body of a 62-year-old man was found in the water a few hours later. Police believe he was the only person on the boat. A Portage La Prairie man who saved a 2-year-old boy from drowning says he's relieved to know the toddler is safe. It happened at Delta Beach along the south shore of Lake Manitoba just after 6 p.m. Preston Houle was with his fiancée and 3 kids when he heard a woman screaming. He says she was holding her unconscious son in her arms by the water. Houle says the child wasn't breathing, was pale, and didn't have a pulse. He started doing CPR while his fiancée called 911.
I did chest compressions on it for roughly 2 minutes or so, and then we got some water out of him, and then he started to breathe on his own. We got him to start crying, and then yelling for the bystanders to bring some towels and stuff to get him wrapped.
The boy was rushed to hospital by ambulance. RCMP later said he made a full recovery. Houle is a diesel mechanic, but says he is now reconsidering becoming an emergency responder. A Christian rocker affiliated with U.S. President Donald Trump is set to come to Manitoba. But other Canadian cities have either denied or revoked permits for his worship events. And now there's growing pressure on Winnipeg to take the same stance. The CBC's Ian Fraze explains.
Fling wide the gates of Canada, fling wide, that the King of Glory.
Christian musician Sean Foyt wanted to hold worship events across Canada, but was forced to make some last-minute changes.
Over the last several days, we've had 6 separate venues across the provinces of this nation cancel our free outdoor worship events.
Cities have bristled at Foyt for his views opposing abortion and the LGBTQ community. The mega-affiliated musician has had to find private venues for his shows, like a farmer's property. Now his next Canadian stop is in Winnipeg. He's planning to host his August 20th event at Central Park. A United Church minister says the singer's opinions contradict what this inner-city neighborhood stands for.
There's a lot of diversity and activity, and a lot of very vulnerable people access the park, and we would want to promote and hold them in a safe space.
Winnipeg's mayor says the city is reviewing whether to grant a permit.
My understanding from some of what I've seen, or heard had been said in the past in the estates side is not some of the things that we would, value. On the other hand, we do have a Charter of Rights and Freedoms that does permit people to have their opinion, express their opinion.
Foyt declined an interview, but said in a statement if he showed up in purple hair and a dress claiming to be a woman, the government wouldn't say anything. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Time now to bring in weather specialist Riley Lachuk. And Riley, I couldn't really figure out what was going on today, whether it was smoke, whether it was cloud, we had a little rain. It was kind of a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything in there, Brittany, and now some clearing as we head into the evening. I thought I'd start with our visibility map because this gives us a bit of a sense of where we've seen some of that wildfire smoke taking hold throughout the day, thanks to a bit more of a northerly wind throughout the day. So Barons River visibility, for example, at 2 kilometers, we've seen some of that smoke from those fires burning in the Island Lake region start to drift southward. So that's impacting visibility into Barons River, and visibility in Winnipeg and Portage into northwestern Ontario around 5-6 kilometers throughout the afternoon hours. Normally, we should see that visibility up at around 24 kilometers on a clear sunny day. So yes, some of that smoke and combined with some of the cloud cover we've seen as well impacting our visibility in parts of the province throughout the day today. 24 degrees as forecast in the city, 25 in Brandon. This is where we have seen some sunnier skies throughout the afternoon hours. Still dealing with a few showers pushing off into northwestern Ontario. We saw a couple of periods of brief rain here in the Winnipeg region today, and air quality warnings remaining in place for a good chunk of the province. I'll talk about the smoke and when we get some seasonal temperatures when I come back.
All right. Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, they're supposed to help people get around faster, but hopping on one of these two-wheelers may land you in the ER. More on the growing concerns straight ahead. You've probably noticed them on your walks or drives. E-scooters have become a popular way to get around. But with increased use comes increased injuries, and some are blaming the lack of rules. CBC's Felicia Adam has more.
You're probably seeing these around more and more in Manitoba.
E-scooters are becoming a common way for people to get around.
But what are the rules to using them in Manitoba? Well, it's simple. There aren't any. Which means really anyone at any age can ride an e-scooter on streets, sidewalks, and bike paths at any speed.
They just come up right against you. You're in this lane, you're turning signal, and then right past us.
Cyclist Marion Siemens says she almost got into an accident after someone on an e-scooter ignored a red light.
It was scary. Like, he could have got schmucked, and then what would have happened, right?
The latest data by the Canadian Institute for Health and Information shows a 32% increase nationally in hospitalizations related to e-scooters from 2023 to 2024 compared to the previous year.
Here in Manitoba, even though the numbers of injuries aren't very high, they're growing at an alarming rate.
A scooter versus a motor vehicle, it's like a cyclist or a pedestrian, you are at a distinct disadvantage.
Pamela Fuselli is the head of Parachute. It's a national organization focused on preventing injuries, including those on the road. She says the use of e-scooters has increased substantially just in the last year.
The injuries can go from, cuts and bruises from falling off the e-scooter to broken bones and serious head injuries.
So it's very convenient for transport. I'm always aware. I'm just aware of my surroundings, and I pick where I drive. Safety first.
Edward Fortier has been riding his e-scooter for 3 years. For him, it's a cheaper way of getting to and from work. He tries to be safe where he can, but he knows there are risks.
I do know a few people who've had pretty bad accidents on e-scooters, so that's in the back of my mind.
Rob Christensen advocates for the use of e-scooters, but he wants their use to be regulated much like an electric bike to make sure everyone follows the rules of the road.
Also to empower regulatory authorities to say, hey, what you're doing is unsafe. You need to behave like a cyclist. Instead of this kind of weird world where you see e-scooters, some are behaving safely, some aren't.
A provincial spokesperson told CBC that as the use of e-scooters continues to grow, Manitoba is looking into ways to create a regulatory framework so that the two-wheelers can be used safely and responsibly. Felicia Adams, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The Prime Minister says trade talks with the United States are at an intense phase and a deal without tariffs is unlikely.
We will only sign a deal that's the right deal, that's a good deal for Canada. We're representing Canada, we're standing up for Canada. The United States and Canada can do many good things together. We have done that in the past, we can do more in the future, but on fair terms for our country.
The two sides are working towards an agreement by August 1st. Donald Trump has threatened to impose a 35% tariff on some Canadian imports if that deadline isn't met. Carney says his negotiating team has been clear that supply management and language rights are fundamental to the structure of Canada. Well, most kids are spending their summer holidays at the beach. One 9-year-old will be hitting the links in Northern Ireland for an international competition. CBC Indigenous reporter Stephen Richard explains.
Taking a swing in preparation for the biggest opportunity in his young golf career so far. This is 9-year-old Connor Hanska. He lives in Birdtail Sioux, Dakota Nation. And he's a member of Whitefish Lake First Nation in Alberta. And he's on his way to play in the Champion of Champions World Championship. We caught up with him at the Winnipeg airport before he left.
It's really important because it's one of the best tournaments out of this world.
Connor will be among 250 of the best junior golfers in the world from more than 40 countries. On a course that is a big deal in the golf world. Loch Earn Golf Resort in Enniskillen, Northern Ireland. His mother, Destiny Jackson, says Connor has been swinging a golf club since he could walk. And she's impressed with his dedication.
I really don't know how he has the mindset and the practice. Like, he practices every day. Like, you have to have a whole different character to do something like that.
Connor's parents aren't the only ones impressed with his skill. We had a pro golfer take a look.
I haven't actually met him, but looks awesome. Great off of the backswing position, little bowed wrist, and comes down and just lines through it and just rips it. So it's a gorgeous swing. It looks like he's quite the player.
This is Connor's first international tournament. Connor's hopes remain high.
I'm gonna go practice and hopefully shoot a good score.
For CBC Indigenous, Stephen Richard, Winnipeg.
Future PGA
Yeah,
Tour
no
star, I
kidding.
think. Not a bad day to be out on the golf course today because it was a little cooler than we've seen over the past few days.
Couple little passing showers here in the city. More of that to the south, though, where we've seen disturbance weak in nature moving along the international border. That did give us a few showers into extreme southern Manitoba today. Boy, oh boy, in Winnipeg yesterday, ranging anywhere from about 6 millimeters of rain to even one report of close to 40 millimeters of rain in some of those downpours that we saw throughout the day. And some of those thunderstorms, still a bit of extra lift in our upper level winds, helping to enhance some of that rainfall, even sparking a few stray thunderstorms along the international border throughout the afternoon hours today. You see some of that now on satellite and radar as it pushes into Fort Frances and into northwestern Ontario. Some clearing in behind that, and this is the story that sets us up for Tuesday and Wednesday, as a sunnier sky, but also winds that will keep pushing more of that wildfire smoke and more of that haze down into southern parts of the province and into northwestern Ontario. So there's the rest of that instability, maybe a couple of stray showers out of some of this cloud cover through the overnight hours, though still. So can't rule out maybe a couple sprinkles in some of this first thing in the morning. But behind that, high pressure does set in. This particular forecast model indicating the potential as we get into the afternoon tomorrow of seeing a few showers even into southwestern Manitoba. However, I do think this sinks south of the border, but still that chance is there for places like Melita through Deloraine into Boissevain that you do pick up a couple of showers through the afternoon tomorrow. Then comes that high pressure as we get into Wednesday. This does a couple of things. First off, gives us a sunnier sky, but then kind of shifts our air mass around a bit here. So as we get into Thursday, we're looking at a shift in winds, which will help clear our air here in southern Manitoba, but also help drive up our temperatures close to the weekend once again, looking at the potential for some humidity. I'll have more to say on that in your 7-day forecast a little bit later on, but looking at our surface smoke forecast, we've seen our air quality health index up around an 8 or a 9 once again today. Do expect that to remain in place as we get through the evening again into Tuesday, coming and going, so more like a 7 or 8, at times a 9 for that air quality health index in the south. This all from those fires that are burning in northern Manitoba, and also getting some of that from northern Saskatchewan as well, as we see that wind shifting more northwesterly. So we're getting some of this smoke from the Saskatchewan side filtering down into the parkland and down into the Interlake as well. So temperatures, that will also hold our temperatures back slightly as we get through the day on Tuesday. Looking at 23s, 24s through southern Manitoba, a mix of sun and clouds. Mostly sunny by the time we get to the afternoon. 18 in Thompson, 25 Brittany as we get into Wednesday, and sunshine in 27 with a shift in winds as we get toward Thursday.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
It was a fight of intelligence, but this match was physical. The latest from China's annual Artificial Intelligence Conference ahead. Well, you may notice them fluttering around, but you might not know just how important butterflies are. And one festival is helping change that. The annual Monarch Butterfly Festival took place this past weekend. It's a free event featuring live displays, guided walks, crafts, and educational booths. Monarch numbers have been declining, with climate change and extreme weather being partially blamed.
Monarch butterflies have been declining in a really noticeable way for the last 20 to 25 years, and they've recently been listed as endangered in Canada. There's a few main reasons. One is habitat loss, so they're losing the places where they get the milkweed and the flowers that grow that keep them alive, as well as habitat loss in Mexico where they spend the winter.
People were given milkweed plants to help support monarch habitats in their own backyard.
All right, let's take a look at your dog walking forecast for Tuesday. Could use some more pictures, by the way, so keep sending yours to talkback at cbc.ca. Here's Jeff and Lucy. Looks like they're either A, ready for a treat, or waiting for the door open to get out for that walk. Thanks, Wendy and Olaf, for sending this picture in. So 15 degrees first thing in the morning, very seasonal for this time of the year. 24 into the afternoon, but you'll notice a bit of haze, some smoky periods hanging around once again as we get into the day tomorrow. That does start to change as we get into Wednesday with a bit of shift in winds, but just take note that we're looking at smoky conditions as we get through the day on Tuesday into Wednesday. 25 degrees, 27 for Thursday. The heat and humidity toward the weekend, feeling a slight risk of thunderstorms late Friday into Saturday, with a chance of showers into the weekend as well. Like most boxing matches, a recent one in China featured jabs, of course, hooks and crosses.
But it didn't look the way you might think. See why in our daily lift. And he's up. Humanoid robots in headgear traded powerful punches at the 2025 World Artificial Intelligence Conference in Shanghai. They were controlled remotely by operators outside the ring. Like their human counterparts, these boxers demonstrated great agility, balance, punches, kicks, and of course the recoveries from their falls.
It was of the most eye-catching displays at the conference, but there were many other robot demonstrations. Mahjong players, dancers, and musicians also performed.
You know what? I'm just learning how to play Mahjong against humans.
Okay.
I don't know if I could beat a robot. I'm barely getting by as it is. Oh, they're taking over.
Oh, boy.
Have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.